Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Yasmina Greco. I'm with O'Reilly Media, and I will be your host for today's webcast. Today, folks, we have Stephan Spencer presenting Secrets to Acquiring Links for Higher Google Rankings. Stephan is the author of the brand new O'Reilly book, The Art of SEO, 2nd edition, and he is also the best-selling author of Google Power Search, also by O'Reilly Media. We're so excited to have Stephan with us today to present this webcast for you all. As we get things started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping to help you get the most out of today's webcast. You'll want to open your group chat widget if you haven't already done so. This is where we can interact with each other during the event and where you can submit your questions for Stephan. We find that our audience usually has a lot of good knowledge to share, so we encourage you all to chat freely during the event. However, if you do have questions for Stephan, please preface them with a capital letter Q so we know that they're for him and we can make sure he sees them for Q&A. You can also open, move, and resize any of the other widgets. If you'd like to tweet from the Twitter widget today, you'll need to give it permission to access your account, and it will automatically append the event's hashtag to your tweet so you don't have to. Folks, today our hashtag is Google SEO, all one word. If you should have any problems during the event, please take a look at your help widget. If you continue to have problems, please post it in the group chat and one of our staff will help you right away. For choppy audio or stalled visuals, please try refreshing your window. And remember, the best thing you can do for a good audio stream is to close any apps that could be interfering. People always ask, so we'd like you to know we are recording today's webcast, and we'll have an archive ready usually within 48 hours. And folks, at this time, it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Stephan for his presentation. Hello, Stephan.
Hi, Yasmina. Thank you for having me. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff in the next hour. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, just a couple bits of trivia about me so that you know who's actually speaking to you. As Yasmina said, I'm co-author of The Art of SEO, now in its 2nd edition, and author of Google Power Search. The latter book is about how to find anything on Google using all sorts of tricks and tips and power user techniques. And The Art of SEO is a comprehensive reference about how to get to the top of Google with your website. Now, I'm also the founder of an SEO agency called Net Concepts that no longer exists. It sold to Cavario in 2010. Another bit of trivia about me is I lived in New Zealand for almost 8 years while I was running Net Concepts. And I have to tell you that this internet thing, you can actually do it from anywhere. It's pretty cool. So I lived there from 1999 to 2007. I also invented an SEO technology platform, and now I'm working on an SEO coaching and video training program at scienceofseo.com, which is not quite ready to launch yet, but there's some freebies on there if you're interested. All right, now let's go into basically the whole link building side of the equation of SEO is the hardest to master because there's so much there's really an art to building relationships and rapport with influencers. There's technology and science involved in using the tools to analyze your websites, your competitors' websites, industry websites, and see where they're getting their links from and where you can acquire similar or even better links compared to your competitors. And then there's really kind of like a very creative right brain angle to all this too, where you're coming up with campaign ideas for creating what's called link bait, which we'll cover in a little bit. And it's just basically creating viral content that can go, can spread through the internet, through social media, through the blogosphere, and so forth. So that's what we're going to cover in this next hour. Let's start, though, with just some basics about how links work, why they're important, PageRank, and so forth. All right. So link popularity is a very general term that refers to just the number of links that you have pointing to your website. However, it doesn't take into account how important each of those links are and how trustworthy and how authoritative each of those links are. Therefore, Google came up with a modification to that concept, a weighted form of link popularity that they call PageRank, and they still call it PageRank. PageRank named after Larry Page, co-founder of Google, not web page, right? So PageRank is the foundation of Google's ranking algorithm. And you might wonder how you can get access to find out what your PageRank score is. Well, Google provides a way to give you kind of a teaser on what your web page's PageRank score is. However, a few things to bear in mind. One is the PageRank meter is inaccurate and it's imprecise, and it's not the internal PageRank that Google is using in their rankings algorithm. So kind of treat it like it's entertainment purposes only, right? So with that said, I can point you towards how to get access to this data. It's just simply go to toolbar.google.com and install the Google Toolbar, and then turn on the advanced features, which includes the PageRank meter. So that's one way. Another possible approach, which I prefer because I like SEO tools, would be to use a third-party SEO tool like SEO for Firefox, for example, from SEO Book, and that would have a PageRank meter built into it as well. There's a toolbar from SEO Moz as well, which also has a PageRank meter. So they basically pretend to be the Google Toolbar, accessing Google's Toolbar server, grabbing these data points, and then for every web page that you're on, you're going to see a PageRank score. The thing to bear in mind, though, is that each of these web pages that has a PageRank score of, let's say, it's anywhere from 0 to 10, and this is, by the way, logarithmic in scale, so that if we look at the next slide, where you can see how the logarithmic scale works, going from, let's say, 1 to 2 in PageRank is extremely easy. It's like, an ant walking one step compared to going from, let's say, a 7 to an 8, which would be like going from here to the moon, right? So huge differential between the integers as you go closer to 10. Even better way to visualize how the logarithmic nature of PageRank works. And so look at this next graphic, which is like an inset here of a mountain, and you can see where that inset sits in the bigger mountain graph, where going from 0 to 7 is it's basically all at base camp. So getting from a 7 to an 8 in PageRank is massive in comparison to, let's say, a 6 to a 7. Right? So having a 5 in your PageRank score is not middle of the road. It's actually really, really low when you look at this mountain graph in comparison, right? So bear that in mind. And also, because Google is giving you some competitive information about how their algorithm works, they're not going to give too much away. So this data is really, it is an export of their PageRank data, which is done only periodically. It might be months old. It will be most likely months old by the time that you see it. So a PageRank score of whatever, 5 that you're seeing in the Google Toolbar is probably from fall of last year. Okay, so it's a bit old, and Google also uses the toolbar to let websites know that they've caught them doing dodgy practices that are against Google's guidelines, like buying or selling links, and they will dock the PageRank score on the toolbar without actually penalizing your site yet. So it's just like a shot across your bow to let you know, hey, we caught you, and you better clean up your act or your rankings are going to drop. Right? So your PageRank might go from a 5 to a 3 or a 2, and yet your rankings don't change. You wonder what happened. why is this happening? And if you're, say, buying links, for example, that's the reason, because they're giving you advance warning that you better clean up your act. So entertainment purposes only. I really don't put a whole lot of stock in PageRank scores, but something useful to know about. Now, the best kinds of links for SEO purposes are ones that are topically relevant to your industry, to your niche, whatever. They're also one way, not reciprocal, right? So a reciprocal link would be, hey, so-and-so neighbor or golf buddy or whatever, can you link to me and I'll link back to you? Google doesn't really think much of these reciprocal links. They get discounted, right? So it doesn't look like a natural earned by merit sort of link. Also, we want to avoid links that are in the footer or that are site-wide, because those don't look like they were earned by merit either. Looks like some sort of commercial deal went down, right? So if you got a footer link in somebody's website, or you have a site-wide link over in the sidebar, that looks like some sort of commercial relationship. And you want to make sure that these websites that are linking to you, they're legitimate, trusted, trustworthy-looking, authoritative sites, and they have a good link neighborhood, ideally a pristine link neighborhood without spammy links pointing to them. If you also look at the page that's linking to you and see what sort of other links are contained on the page, if there are a ton of other links and you're just one of 1,000 links on the page, it's not going to be nearly as valuable as if you're one of 30 links on the page. You also want to pay attention to whether those links are nice, legitimate-looking links, or if they're dodgy, slimy sort of links like payday loans and casino links and things like that, right? Because Google's going to discount the voting power of a site that has that kind of those kind of links, right? So they're taking on advertisers and selling links and selling to really dodgy sorts of sites. A link from that sort of site would probably do harm and not good. It could trigger a penalty for you. Okay, so let's move on to a few other points about high-quality links. They also have descriptive anchor texts, ideally. I mean, most of the links that you'll have pointing to your site are going to be the name of your site, the name of your company, the name of your brand, your domain name. So that's totally normal. That looks natural and legitimate. However, you want also in the mix some links that have descriptive anchor text, not ones that look dodgy and that look suspicious, right? So if you're a used cars company in San Diego, a link that says used car San Diego looks suspicious, to say the least, right? Who's going to link to you like that? Only if you paid them. So we don't want links like that, but if you wrote a really great article about high fructose corn syrup, and then here's some information about high fructose corn syrup, and they made that phrase information about high fructose corn syrup a link. That's good descriptive anchor text. That's the sort of thing that will help with providing some context to Google and say, oh, this is about high fructose corn syrup and not just about XYZ company, if you're trying to rank for high fructose corn syrup, right? Now, also we want to have links that look natural and organic and not obtained commercially, but ones that were obtained passively, that they just happen because you have such a great site, you have such great content. All right. Now let's look at how to check your link popularity to see how many. I'm going to go one more slide ahead. How to see where your links are coming from, what anchor text is being used, and also reverse engineer competitors and see where they're getting their links from. If we're talking about your own site, you can use Google Webmaster Tools. They provide link data for your own site if you're verified. They have to verify that you're one of the site owners, and then they'll give you all this wonderful data for free, inbound links and anchor text and pages indexed and crawler activity, so when the spiders come and visit your pages from Google, so Googlebot accessing your website, they'll show you all sorts of data about that. Great stuff, and it's all free. That's only for your own website, however. If you want to see for competitor sites, then you're going to need some third-party tools, not from Google, but from other SEO companies, and these include Open Site Explorer, that's from SEO Moz, Majestic SEO, Link Research Tools, and Ahrefs. So those 4 tools are fantastic for really reverse engineering the competitors' backlinks and where they're getting their authority and trust from. And then there's also just a quick and dirty little technique you can use with Google. It gives you a sampling of inbound links, and this is the link operator. So you type into Google, do a Google search for link : www.xyz competitor, whatever their domain is, .com, and then see a sampling of their inbound links. This is a very spotty sort of tool. It used to work much better, and years ago Google decided to basically break it because it's only being used by SEOs, and they don't want to be too overly helpful to those who are trying to manipulate their algorithm. All right, so third-party tools, really the go-to place for finding link popularity data, where people are getting links from and so forth, and we'll have a look at each of those tools in just a moment. Now, one other thing I want to mention is when you're building high-quality links, it's not just about seeing where your competitors are getting links from, but actually leapfrogging them and doing something they've never thought of, because your competition isn't necessarily that smart. They're not that innovative. Maybe they're at the top of Google, maybe not. Maybe they're just kind of, your competition, this is an important point, your competition is not just the traditional competitor that is down the street from you or that is at the same trade show as you. They don't really have the kind of know-how and savvy to rank at the top of Google, probably. Your competition online are those sites that are outranking you in Google. And I love this little acronym. Spam is, you might have heard about spam being, really dodgy websites that are doing dirty tricks, violating Google's guidelines, and then potentially getting in trouble and getting banned by Google. There's another acronym that goes with spam, which is pretty funny. Sites positioned above mine. I quite like that. So we don't want to exclude from our competition set that we're analyzing any site that is non-traditional as far as a competitor. If they're outranking us, they're a competitor. They're taking up our shelf space that we want to take up in the top of the Google search results. So we want to analyze what they're doing right and wrong. So when we're achieving high-quality links, acquiring them, we're not just looking at our competition. We're going to leapfrog them, and we're going to do some things that they've never thought to do before, and that includes creating viral content, known as link bait, which will hopefully spread throughout the Internet and get lots of links from bloggers and other influencers. We're going to maybe submit to topical relevant directories, but probably not spend very much time at all with that. In fact, that's really at the very low end of the spectrum in terms of building high-quality links. Most directories that you would submit to are really only there for webmasters and SEOs and not for the general public. It's not a useful website. It's just there to sell links. So for the most part, I avoid directories. It's really kind of a waste of time. And if that's your big strategy, to submit to directories and write comments on people's blogs and put your links into those comments and so forth, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. That's not a sustainable link building strategy. You could work with your business partners and get links from suppliers and distributors and so forth. Again, those don't look like links earned by merit, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that. You can do the competitive intelligence where you look at where your competitor's getting links. Again, that's not the end-all, be-all. That's part of an overall strategy, and getting those high-quality links is going to have to include getting really creative, building out great content that is irresistible for people to link to, and then tapping into social media, leveraging power users and people who have influence to spread your link page. And then, of course, participating in the blogosphere as a blogger, getting your content and value add out there for other bloggers to see and potentially link to. All right. Now let's look at what the Google Toolbar looks like briefly, and then we're going to look at some third-party tools. The Google Toolbar, as I said, is at toolbar.google.com. Here's what it looks like. You'll see when you mouse over the little PageRank meter, which is around, kind of towards the end of the list of tools in that toolbar, up at the top there, underneath the location bar where you type in the URL. That little green meter, when you mouse over it, it shows a little bit of text that says PageRank for this site, blah, 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 is like 6 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 or 3 out of 10, whatever, right? So that is the numerical score, and remember that's logarithmic, but you're not going to see that until you mouse over the meter. Otherwise, you're just going to see the little green bar is like pretty full or not very full at all. So you want the score, you have to mouse over it. There are other tools, like I said, like SEO for Firefox, which provide the same data from the toolbar server from Google. And there are also alternative metrics for in terms of PageRank, which we'll talk about in just a minute. These are developed by third parties, so they're not actual PageRank scores. But one other thing that might be useful and interesting for you is there's a historical PageRank checker tool from SEO Moz that is going to show you what people have earned in terms of PageRank scores from the past, not just the snapshot in time from now or whatever the time period was that Google is currently showing, if it's like from the fall of last year. So if you want to see how their PageRank has improved or decreased over time, you can use that particular tool. Now, if you're looking to get more precise data, because the PageRank scores that you're getting, like a 7 out of the PageRank meter could be a high 7 or a low 7. We have no idea. And remember that mountain graph, a low 7 and a high 7 are worlds apart in terms of where they are on the mountain. We really would like to know more precisely what that score is, and you can't with Google. So that's where there's some alternative third-party approximations of PageRank. One from SEO Moz, that's the Open Site Explorer. They provide, well, actually 3 different metrics from Open Site Explorer from SEO Moz. They provide Moz Rank, Moz Trust, and Page Authority, which are all logarithmic in scale. Moz Rank and Moz Trust are 0 through 10, just like PageRank. Page Authority is 1 through 100, and Moz Trust is, so Moz Rank is the equivalent, their rough equivalent to PageRank. Moz Trust is like PageRank. It's more like TrustRank though, where it has a trust component built into it. In other words, instead of starting with a random seed set of sites and calculating PageRank for the entire web, from there they start with a trusted set of sites like Harvard University and Cambridge and National Science Foundation, that sort of thing, and then they calculate PageRank from there. So that favors trusted sites, and Google most certainly favors trusted sites over untrusted sites. So Moz Trust is a very interesting metric to look at. When you're using the Majestic SEO tool, you'll see they have two metrics, one called citation flow and trust flow, which are the roughly equivalent to PageRank and TrustRank. They're like Moz Rank and Moz Trust, but the Majestic SEO version of that. And then Link Research Tools has some metrics such as Kemper Juice, but the Power Trust metric is a really interesting one that I quite like. So those are some additional ways of checking how important and powerful and trustworthy and authoritative a link is, or a page is that has voting power to link. And I like to use a mix of these different tools and see what these scores are, not just rely on PageRank. Because remember, PageRank is for entertainment purposes. It's not really a very trustworthy metric. And so kind of think of it like green pixel fairy dust. All right. Now, we're going to look first at the Open Site Explorer tool. And if we have time, we're going to show some screenshots of some other of the tools that I mentioned, right? So there's also, besides Open Site Explorer, Majestic SEO, linkresearchtools.com, ahrefs.com. And so this is Open Site Explorer. You can get some data from this tool for free. You don't have to have a paid account. But if you do have a paid account with SEO Moz, then you're going to get additional data. It's definitely worth the whatever it costs, like $80 a month or whatever, to have full access to this tool and the other tools they have in their arsenal. So what you do is just put in your URL or a competitor's URL. It doesn't have to be the home page. It could be a subpage, like the most popular blog post that site had ever published or whatever, right? And then you can see where those links are coming from, what the anchor text is, what the page authority score is of that page, what their domain authority for the overall site is, and then you can also do some pretty cool filtering and resorting and so forth. You can export that data out of this tool and into Excel. And so what you're going to do is you're going to look at your competitors. Remember, not just your traditional competitors. You're going to look at sites that are outranking you and see where they're getting their link authority from. What sorts of sites that are .edus and .orgs that are linking to your competitors. What sites that are linking with really great anchor text and not just the URL or the domain of that competitor, but some good keyword-rich anchor text. And remember, we don't want to go over the top and have most of our links be like that because that looks unnatural, but we would like to have some of the keyword-rich links in the mix, adding some context to the voting power that is being conveyed. Right. Now, I'm just going to jump ahead here in the interest of time to the next slide. Now, there are a plethora of tools out there. I mentioned 4. I'll mention a couple others like Advanced Link Manager, Backlink Analyzer. There's just a ton of different tools. Raven. The thing is, if you just focus on the tools and not on the strategy, you're going to miss out on a lot of the opportunity. It's like Sun Tzu in The Art of War said that tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. We don't want to just be all tactical and looking at inbound links and using tools to create reports and all that sort of stuff and do spreadsheets. We want to be strategic and come up with big ideas, out-of-the-box thinking, what we can do differently from our competitors, different kinds of marketing campaigns that will really make a big splash and get the attention of influencers. And remember, when you're creating link bait, viral content, you are not creating it for your customers. This is a very important point. You are not creating it for your customers. You're creating it for the influencers, or the linkerati, another word for that, right? So the linkerati is your target. And when you create something that has viral potential, a viral video or whatever, that's your audience. So you're going to have to think differently than you've ever done before. Let's take a look at a few other screenshots. Okay, so next, okay, this is Open Site Explorer. Let me go to the next one here. It's also Open Site Explorer. This particular slide is showing some metrics around, like I said, Moz rank and Moz trust and page authority, so forth, not just for the page but for the domain. You can see overall what that site's authority and trust and so forth are, how many links that a whole site has acquired, and then for the page that you're looking at, what those metrics look like. Okay, next slide. Still in Open Site Explorer. This is looking at the anchor text that's being used in the links pointing to your site or to your competitor site. So this will show you if things look really unnatural and there's a ton of links that say used cars San Diego or something like that, that looks really suspicious. Or if most of the links are the company's brand or company name or domain name and so forth. So that looks a lot more real and natural. Now we're moving on to another tool called Majestic SEO. The graph over on the right-hand side is a graph of trust flow versus citation flow. Citation flow has it's a rough equivalent to PageRank, and trust flow is the rough equivalent to TrustRank. If you have that x-axis is citation flow, basically what this graph shows is that out of all the links that are pointing to this particular site, many of them skew towards being just important but not very trustworthy. If they skewed to being more trustworthy than important, then they would occupy the higher up in the graph, right? So that line going from 0, 0 at the origin, and then at a 45-degree angle up, you'd have more links, more dots above if they were skewed more towards trust. So I don't know if I explained that in the best way possible, but basically the concept here is that you want sites linking to you that are trustworthy, not just important. This is another chart coming out of Majestic SEO. This shows the acquisition of backlinks over time, cumulatively, and comparing that with a competitor site, and then looking at not just the total number of links accumulated over time, but also the referring domains over time. So the number of sites linking, not just the number of links. Because one site might have a site-wide link to you on every single page of a 50,000-page website. Well, that's 50,000 links, but just one site. Google's not going to count that as 50,000 votes. They're going to look at that and say, yeah, that's one site linking to you, and that's being linked in such a way that it looks like you have a commercial relationship. So I'm probably going to pretty much discount this link altogether. So 50,000 votes, no, not even close. So I like to pay attention to the referring domains graph and give that more attention than the total number of backlinks. You can see the discrepancy here. Something happened to the site that's in blue, the blue line. They acquired a whole bunch of probably site-wide links over a period of some months, and the number of referring domains, the number of sites, did not increase, just the total number of links. So that looks really pretty suspicious. Okay, and this next slide is also from Majestic SEO. This is showing the report of inbound links, what the anchor text is, what the citation flow score is, the trust flow score is, and those same scores for the domain level and for the overall site, not just the page, when it first found that link, and if it's still present. It's just pretty cool stuff. And you can, just like with SEO Moz, you can export this out of the tool and pull it right into an Excel file. Another really cool chart here is it's a world map showing where most of the links are coming from geographically. If your target market is the UK, you absolutely need to have a lot of links. A lot of your links need to come from the UK. If you have no links from the UK, it's going to be a lot harder for you to rank in Google UK than if you have local links as well as links from other places. Another slide from a screenshot from Majestic SEO. This shows lost backlinks over time, and you could say, well, I'm going to go after those sites that have stopped linking to me and see if I can get them to add a link back. Maybe reconnect with them and build some rapport, and then once I've done that, ask them to link to me again. So that's a strategy. Now moving on to another tool. This one is linkresearchtools.com. It's a whole suite of tools, and I just love this tool set. It's a little bit more expensive than the others, but wow, it's just amazing. You have, like inside their tool set, there's backlink profiler, competitive landscape analyzer, the quick backlinks tool. There's just 15 or so different tools, all of them awesome and do different things. They find hubs where you're getting multiple competitors getting links from a site or a page. So you could say, well, if 5 of my competitors are getting links from somewhere, I should easily get that, be able to get that link as well, because it's probably a comprehensive list of all the main companies in that industry, and they just must have forgotten me or something, right? So I could just easily acquire a link from that. So that's a hub finder type tool, and they have that, and there's just tons of really cool things. So this is the backlink profiler tool within Link Research Tools. It will show you the a distribution graph or chart of types of sites and themes of sites that are linking to you or a competitor. You can compare that with, let's say that you have a lot of blogs linking to you and a competitor doesn't. That's useful information to know. If most of the sites are heavily weighted towards getting blog links and you have almost no blog links, you might want to consider focusing on getting some links from bloggers, right? So that's just one little aspect of this tool. Let's scroll down and see what else the Backlink Profiler tool inside of Link Research Tools offers. Here you can see that there's a pie chart showing the distribution of the types of links, whether they're followed or no followed, and so forth. You can also see the breakdown of domain, top-level domains that are linking to the site, like are they mostly .coms and .orgs and so forth. You can see anchor text distribution, all sorts of really cool things like that. And then you're going to see a list of links underneath that where there's a filter capability. You can say, like, from URL, I just want to see .orgs that are linking or .edus that are linking to this site. Or I just want to see anchor text that says click here, because that's pretty lousy anchor text. And just to clarify, Google and the other engines use the anchor text, the underlined words in the link, to they associate those words with the page that's being linked to. So when somebody links to your site and they use the phrase click here, they are telling Google and Bing and Yahoo that, hey, this page over here is all about click here. And guess who is number one in the search results in Google for click here? Last time I checked, and this has been the case for years, it was the Adobe Acrobat Reader download page, which makes a lot of sense when you consider all those links pointing to the download page saying, hey, if you want to read my PDFs, you're going to need the Acrobat Reader. To download it, click here. And those are the two words that are underlined and linked to the Adobe Acrobat Reader download page, right? So even though the phrase click here, the words click or here neither appear anywhere in the page on the Adobe site, on that Adobe download page, they don't appear in the title, nothing. It's just the sheer power of the votes and the context of those votes, in other words, the anchor text being used, that get them to rank number one. So anchor text, really, really important. So you can filter by anchor text and look for really lousy anchor text or really good anchor text. With this filtering capability, you can say, just show me the links that are high Moz rank scores from, like, say, 5 to 10, or the citation flow, trust flow metrics of, from whatever to whatever, right? So you can see subsets of the total data with this filtering capability. Next is the competitive landscape analyzer inside of Link Research Tools. And what this does is very similar to the backlink profiler that I just showed you, with one important difference. You tell it a keyword that you care about in Google to rank for, and it will look at the top sites, let's say the top 10, in that set of search results in Google. It will pull all the metrics of, like, on all the inbound links and take an average and then compare that to your site. So you could say, well, how do I stack up in terms of the distribution of types of links or types of sites that are linking to me, or the themes of the sites that are linking to me? How do I stack up? Do my competitors who are outranking me that are in the top 10 for XYZ keyword, are they mostly getting their links from blogs or from business sites or from travel sites or from whatever, right? So you can see that very quickly and easily with this tool. You don't want to stick out like a sore thumb if everybody else, let's say you're in the travel space and your competitors have a lot of links from travel sites and you have very few. That is a big indicator that you need to work on getting more travel links. And then again, scrolling down, you can see that same capability of being able to filter, and the links that are listed are from to the various sites that are ranking in the top 10 for that keyword. Pretty cool stuff. I really love Link Research Tools. I don't have time to go over ahrefs.com, that's another great tool, and there's just some awesome tools out there. Okay, link baiting. This is my favorite aspect to SEO because I get to be creative. It's like being an ad agency creative director. I love to come up with crazy, brilliant campaign ideas for my clients and just do all sorts of out there things in terms of infographics and videos and top 10 lists and how-tos and personality tests and quizzes and all sorts of stuff like that. Contests, competitions, photo competitions, scavenger hunts, some great ways to get lots of links. So link baiting in general, you've got to come up with a hook. Could be a humor hook, or a utility hook, or a controversy hook. So the different ways of getting attention. Humor seems to work really, really well online, but that might not be your shtick. So no problem, just come up with something that is comfortable for you. But remember, most growth happens outside your comfort zone, so we want to try and stretch your comfort zone at least a bit. You might be a very stodgy corporate company that does not do anything out of the ordinary, and that's going to make it harder for you to get attention from the linkerati online. But you just have to work within whatever constraints that you have. So you could come up with an expose or some sort of scoop, something that is a unique angle, for example. It could be a humorous post or article. 10 things I hate about X, Y, Z. You're whatever when whatever, that sort of thing. You could publish original research or commission original research to be created. You can Creative Commons license content that you're allowing people to reuse with attribution, like photos and videos and so forth. You can create tools and things that are free and available for people to download and use, like WordPress plugins. You can start a meme that others can replicate. Let me just explain what a meme is. A meme, this is the best definition I've ever come across. It's from an expert on memes. I think she might be a professor or something. She's an author and so forth. A meme, and her name escapes me at the moment, but her definition, I just love it. It's a copy me instruction backed up by threats and or promises. And one of my favorite examples of a meme isn't even online. There are lots of memes out there, like, for example, which superhero are you? 5 things you didn't know about me. Email chain letters, lolcats and fail videos and images, tons of stuff like that. But also in the offline world, memes happen. When you go to a hotel and you go into the bathroom and you see the toilet paper roll folded into a triangle, that's a meme. Somebody started that at some point, and people noticed that and said, wow, that is a really clever idea. I'm going to do that in my hotel. Some hotel manager would notice that, and then it would spread because there's this inherent promise that it's a cleaner bathroom because that toilet roll has been folded into a triangle. Of course, it's a farce. It doesn't mean that they did anything. They could have scrubbed the toilet with your toothbrush when you weren't looking, and you'd never know. But they folded that toilet roll, so it must be clean. Right, so that's a meme. The copy me instruction backed up by either threats and or promises. The threat could be like an email chain letter: 7 years of bad luck if you don't forward this to 15 friends in the next 10 seconds, right? Or promises of good luck or whatever. So that's a meme, and these things go crazy viral. You could piggyback on an existing meme, like like cat photos or whatever, or Michaela, the Olympic gymnast, and that funny facial expression she made, and that just appeared everywhere online. And there's just lots of examples of memes. So you could piggyback on an existing meme, or you could try and create your own new one. But the idea here is you got to get creative, right? You could give awards of recognition, like the cool science site of the day award or whatever, if you're targeting science sites. Say you sell science kits or whatever. You can create podcasts and screencasts and so forth. You could run contests. You could create useful tools for webmasters. Let me just run you through quickly here an example contest that went really well for a client of mine a while back. This was in conjunction with famous blogger Jeremy Shoemaker, nicknamed Shoe Money. His blog is shoemoney.com, a Technorati100 blog. And the contest was for a client named overnightprints.com. They make business cards, letterhead, stationery, and so forth. Print it overnight and then ship it next day. This contest involved designing Jeremy's new business card, and the winner would get free business cards for life, which, the cost of that to the client was minimal. I mean, in the small print, it was 1,000 business cards per year for up to 20 years. I probably have enough money in my wallet to cover that. So pretty inexpensive. And Jeremy is a friend of mine, so he did this deal without charging my client a lot of money, and it was just great for everybody. He got this amazing new business card that he just loved. You see here this picture of him with that new business card. Looked 100 times better than his previous business card. Really cool looking. So everybody was happy. The client went from nowhere in Google for the term business cards to top of page 1. It took some time because this doesn't just happen overnight. Link authority takes time to build and so forth. But over the course of some months, they got onto the top 10 for business cards, which was a huge win, and then it just kept climbing, and they got all the way up to number 2. I haven't checked to see where they are lately, but this contest was back in 2009, so it was a while ago. So think different. That's the bottom line. You can also blog for links, because bloggers link to other bloggers. We want to build rapport and relationship with other bloggers. One of the best ways to do that is to be a blogger, just like them. Go to blogger conferences like Blog World Expo, and or if you're a female blogger, Blog Her is a great conference. Actually, if you're a guy blogger and you're single, Blog Her would be a great place to go too. Met a guy there. I'm like, what are you doing at this conference? He's like, oh, dude, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I love it. Okay, so that was a weird aside. Anyways, RSS feeds are another great aspect to blogs, which will help spread your content through syndication. RSS stands for really simple syndication. It's not as popular now as it was several years ago, but it's still worth having RSS feeds. Google has an RSS feed search engine. It's called Google Blog Search. If you want to get into Google Blog Search, you need to have an RSS feed. Sometimes sites will syndicate your RSS feed onto their site. Right, so here's an example, nanodot.org syndicating /headlines onto the home page. So those are some links for /. And also there are web-based aggregators and newsreaders which people subscribe to. There are people's RSS feeds and then consume the content rather than consuming email newsletters. It's a great way to bypass email filters and the email inbox altogether and provide useful information direct to the consumers in the literati, where you're reaching them through the web-based aggregator like MyYahoo or something of that sort. All right. Wikis are also pretty cool, but I'm going to kind of skip over this in the interest of time. You could create your own wiki as well as contribute to existing wikis. Here's an example. I created a wiki called SEOglossary.com, and that's done really well in Google for SEO glossary because there's this implied sense of consensus that a definition on a wiki is kind of self-correcting. It's more accurate than just some random person's opinion. So it would get more links than a glossary site that doesn't have that capability of self-correcting through a wiki environment. You could create personality tests. I love personality tests. Like, for example, which superhero are you, or how many 5-year-olds can you take on in a fight? That's pretty fun. It's like, are you willing to fight dirty? Will you pick up a 5-year-old and throw them at other 5-year-olds? It's pretty ridiculous, but it went crazy viral, and I can totally see why your company would never do anything like that. But just, like I said, try to get somewhat out of your comfort zone, because that's where you're going to get the links, and not just being corporate and boring. Here's a screenshot of this. How many 5-year-olds could you take in a fight? You go ahead and take the quiz, and then it gives you at the end a badge, a web badge that you can add to your blog sidebar or to your social media profile. It says, here's how many 5-year-olds you can take on in a fight. I can take on 15. Woohoo! Okay. And then it gives you the code to paste in the HTML so that you can add that web badge to your blog or whatever. And then they encourage you to take the next test which is, what would your body taste like to a cannibal? It's ridiculous. Okay. You can also create microsites, like here are a few examples: GazooGo, Counterfeit Mini, Mentos Intern. Let's see quick screenshots of these. There's GazooGo, which turns a web page into jive speak. There's also a similar tool called the Dialectizer, which will create a version in either Swedish Chef or Pig Latin or redneck speak. It's pretty funny. And there's this really clever microsite that Mentos, that Perfetti Van Melde came up with for their Mentos brand, Mentos Intern. They hired this college intern over the summer. His job was to sit in front of a webcam. That was his job, to sit in front of a webcam, and he would chat with people who came to see him in his chat room, and you could give him work, like, oh, can you fill out this spreadsheet for me and stuff. Pretty funny. You know what, though? These guys really missed the mark after the fact. They did not keep the link authority alive. The site doesn't work anymore. It doesn't 301 redirect to another location. And so all those links that they had earned to the Mentos Intern site are just going, they've gone to a black hole. It's really a shame, really a shame. And here's another one. This is the Counterfeit Commission. It's all about how to avoid getting ripped off by buying accidentally a counterfeit mini. Yes, that is not a counterfeit. That is not a real mini that you see in the photo. Somebody used duct tape and taped a flag onto the hood and all that. So, it's pretty ridiculous. And of course, guess who's behind it? Mini Cooper. So that got a lot of links. You can create utilities. I had built a plugin for WordPress called the SEO title tag plugin. It just went really well for us. It was the most successful link bait that we'd ever done, my previous company, and I still maintain that plugin. I wrote the first version of it, and then I had my programmers write the following versions. But it's pretty cool what you can do just by giving something back to the internet users. You'll get, it's like karma. You'll get something in return of real value, like being able to dominate the top of Google for your efforts. All right, so seeding that link bait into social media requires that you not just have great content, but that you have contacts who have power user status on social networks like Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, StumbleUpon, and so forth. And that's harder said than done. So I don't really have some secret weapon to offer you other than when you hire an SEO consultant, a lot of times they will have people in their back pocket who have power user status. Yes, I do as well. Right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour here, so I just want to see what else I want to briefly mention. Okay, here's something really important, and then we're going to close out the hour with just a few questions. So link outreach. There are tools out there, very few of them, there are tools out there that will help you to do scalable link outreach, to build relationships with bloggers and influencers en masse, but in a very customized way, so it doesn't look like this spammy email that says, hi, loved your site. I would love to get a link from you, and here's the anchor text I would use, I would request that you use when linking to me. And who's ever going to respond favorably to an email like that? Nobody. So don't ever do anything like that. If you're going to reach out to bloggers, either do it individually, one at a time, or use a tool like there's a tool called Pitchbox, which is able to scale the link outreach, but in a way that is not spammy, but looks like the request is tailored. It's really important. Oops, sorry, went to a slide I didn't mean to. All right, here we go. So you're going to use a tool like Pitchbox, for the outreach process, you're going to use to manage your workflow and to okay, there we go. Sorry about that. That's what I meant to show you was this link outreach slides, where you're basically doing a scalable one-on-one outreach to each of these bloggers or influencers. And then I'll show you quickly here a couple of screenshots, and then we'll close out the webinar. So pitchbox.com. Here's how you create a new campaign. You can do campaigns that are, requesting guest posting opportunities and group blogs. You could, just there are a bunch of different campaign types here, and then it would track your success rate as you run these campaigns, and then you can also see the outreach process and set milestones and see where things are at, and then follow up if people didn't follow through with your request. And that is it. Okay, so we are out of time, but Yasmina, do we have time to take a few questions? I'm happy
sure,
to go over if that's...
if people have some time to stay, of course, we'd love to get some questions in. Nancy just asked, Stephan, when you show a site syndicating news from RSS feeds, she says, I didn't grasp whether that was something I should do as link bait or...
Yeah, so RSS feeds are not link bait on their own. They're just another mechanism to get your content out there. So you could have boring content, or you could have really exciting content via RSS. It's a mechanism.
Matt wonders if you've got any recommendations for PageRank tools on Chrome.
There is a PageRank meter tool for Chrome. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it's got PageRank in the name. Let me just quickly check what it's called. I think it's just called PageRank.
Okay. Michael wonders, how can you determine how many links and of what quality you need to rank higher than a competitor?
Rank higher than a competitor. Well, that was the whole seminar, right? How to outrank a competitor. Basically, you're going to do stuff that is outside the box, creating viral campaigns, getting the attention of influencers with that viral content by tapping people in social media who have power user status, and by creating really good relationships and building rapport with bloggers and influencers.
Mohammed wonders if you have any special SEO tips for websites that target disparate geographies.
If you're targeting disparate geographies like Europe and Asia and so forth, you're going to need local links in each of those geographic regions. So build individual relationships with bloggers and influencers in each of those regions, and also create viral content targeting those regions.
Great. Michael wonders if you've got a best practices for link building. He's wondering what link building activities have the biggest impact. Looking for something longer than a laundry list.
Okay. Run that past me one more time.
Sure. Michael wonders if you've got sort of a best practices for link building. He says, what link building activities have the biggest impact?
Yeah, so link baiting is really the biggest impact sort of thing. And that example I gave of the shoe money contest, win free business cards for life, that was the one campaign that put them on the map for a very competitive keyword for business cards. But overnight prints from nowhere to top of page one within months, and it was the only thing they did. That was the campaign. It was obviously a huge home run for them. So link baiting, that's the secret weapon. Speaking of best practices, by the way, I should mention, too, that I have a best practices white paper with a checklist. It's not specific to link building, but it's more general to SEO. That might be something that the viewers might be interested in might be interested in acquiring, and that is free. I can have my assistant send that out. You guys just send her an email at admin@stephanspencer.com and request the SEO best practices white paper. I also have a SEO myths white paper too, if you're interested in that. So just specify which or both that you want, and my assistant will send that out.
Wonderful. Well, we'd like to say a big thank you to Stephan for his terrific and informative presentation and for sharing all of his knowledge and expertise with us. I'd also like to say a big thank you, of course, to all of you who have attended today's webcast. We hope you've benefited from it. This concludes today's webcast. We want to say goodbye and wish everyone a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Stephan.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.